Hi, everybody. Today we're going to do what I'm hoping to be a quick tutorial on strapping fun. Now, strapping fun is a simple project, I think, where you have a leather base, and then we do crimped ends, and then we stitch different color combinations, but there's 5 components. Each component is done the same way. So today I'm going to show you how to stitch on one component. Prior to that, I usually start the bracelet by putting the findings on both sides. I measure it. So what we're going to do is just take a look, and this takes about a little more than a ½ inch. We have to figure from here to here. So once you put the leather around your wrist, it's let's get the ruler out here. You know, I always do that. I get myself going and then I don't have things out. Okay, so let's just kind of see here what we're going to measure. We want, and what I'm doing down here, get it over here, a little bit of a glare. Okay, the charm goes on from here, the jump. So it's actually 3/4 of an inch. Yep, it's a little under 3/4. No, I would plan an inch. Looks like an inch from this part to that part. So when you do your leather, now when you look at it, you cut it and take off an inch because your inch is going to be filled in with the jump ring, the lobster, and the other jump ring. So then it's very comfortable. Okay. Now, how long can this go? In the company of Glass Garden Beads, we try to always do large wrist to petite. So I've already got the crimp end on this side. It's a 9-inch strap, and it's 3 millimeter wide, and it looks like a little 1.5 millimeters thick. Okay. And here are our combos. We have Clumsy with the brass Tree of Life. We have Guernsey, which is more earthy, with the brass Tree of Life. We have Misty, very beachy look, with the glass or with the brass Tree of Life. And then our latest combo, which I'm going to add the 5th element to, is Foggy. And now this one, we did a little bit with the copper Tree of Life and findings. So I did just leave this the full length to show you how long is the maximum of this bracelet. So let's just see what that is. So you measure from the end of the jump ring, or from the end of the lobster to the end of the jump ring, and you get almost 9 3/4 inches. So that makes sense if you have a 9-inch leather cord or strapping. All right, strapping fun because this is leather strapping. Now I'm going to, since you're going to have to know how to put jump rings on, I am going to show you how to put on this crimp end. So what we're going to do is identify the front and the back. And in this case, there's the fold over. So you want to have it the same on this side. So I'm going to lay this down, and I'm right-handed, so I'm going to use my right hand for my tool. But I like to push the leather so I can pinch it a little bit with my thumb and finger. Okay, and I kind of fold it over. Now you can use a crimper, or I use a chain nose, and I just bend it a little bit. I just start bending it. I don't go hard. I just am pinching slowly. It's kind of to keep things in place. And then I want to be even. So I'm kind of pushing it together. And now I'm going to turn it. I'm going to do the other side. I don't do fast. And you want to have, especially with the brass, you want to have leverage. So I'm trying to get this down. Okay. And then I'm going to fold this. I'm going to pinch it so they overlap a little bit. That's what I'm doing. Okay. And now I'm going to go back to the part that's overlapping, and I'm going to pinch a little harder. See, I've got a nice little edge here. With that. There we go. Okay. Now it's still rounded. So now I'm going to go harder and flatten it. And I hold on to this and I pull. And I'm pulling pretty good. And then this little excess, you just cut off. Just get in there, cut off. Trim. I use my shears. Okay, get that in there, kind of play with it. But the point is to get that kind of rough edge off. And I got one little piece that's just kind of sticking around. Let me get that through there. Take it off. There we go. We're getting there. Okay. Okay. Now we've got our strap done. Now what we're going to do is add the elements. Now in this particular case, I paired it up where there's one color, there's another color, there's a third color which is only on it once, then there's the fourth color which matches your first color. Well, actually it's you repeat now we go back to the first, and this is in the directions. You'll have pictures of this. And now we're into the white color, so that means we're going to add this color now. Okay, the makeup of the component is 8 O beads on the side and 11 O's on the top. So basically it is like a square stitch. That's how you put it on, or a ladder stitch. So this is what we're going to do. I've got my thread. It's 6-pound fire line. The colors that I'm going to be using are right over in here, this and then the black. Get this out of the way. And I'm going to get my ruler out of the way. And we literally start, the directions tell us, and that's what I want to follow. So we all are doing the same thing. It starts with 1 8-0, 3 11-0s, 1 8-0, and 3 11-0s. Okay. So we've already identified the color combination. So I'm going to just kind of push this to the back because I'm liable to take everything with me. 1 8-0, 3 11-0s, 1 8-0, 3 11-0s. All right. So we've got all of our beads on. And we're going to pull this through so we have maybe 2-inch tail. And we're going to put this underneath. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to tie it right away. All right. So in this, it's going to kind of start out as a circle. Okay. So we're going to tie it. Pull it tight. I'm going to do it again. Another knot. I do 3 and another knot. I hate tails, so what I do is I'm going to cut this off, leave a little fringe, and then take my thread burner, which is wonderful with Fireline, and just kind of burn that down. Don't burn the thread that's holding it, the stitching thread. We're just going to get that out of the way. Okay, so we just did one circle, we tied it together. Now we're going to, with our hand, just kind of move it because we want the seed beads, 8-0s, to be on the side. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of turn it a little bit. And this will eventually get straight, but now we're going to go back through again. So needle and thread. And you know what? I've got a pretty excessive long thread. I don't know why I did it for this, because you don't need, I don't think you need more than a half wingspan, to be honest with you. If you do a half wingspan and you have to add thread, I guess I will not be the favorite person in your world who likes adding thread. Nobody. All right, so we're going to go all the way around. I tend to always bead away from me. Now, other people I've noticed bead, whatever way you start is the way that we're going to continue. All right, so I've gone full circle again. I want you to see what I'm looking at right here. We went full circle and we went around twice. You'll see a tail here, but I just wanted to show you the bead that I started with. And now I am going to exit that first row of 11s. See that? All right. So now, which is what I did already. I did that automatically. So I'm coming out of the first row of 11s. Okay. So now I'm going to add 3 more 11-Os. And I'm going to connect it by coming back through the first row we did. All right. So that's going to be connected. So it's going to look like this. Now, what it tells me to do is go down. Oopsie, I didn't want this to turn. Go down through this 8-0 that's right there. All right, so that's what we're going to do. I'm following the directions. Okay, I'm going to slide this down a little bit. Okay, it's still kind of goofy looking, but that straightens out. So now we want to add another 8-0 right next to it. So we're going to pick up a bead, the 8-0, which happens to be the black, slide that in, and we want it setting so the hole is up. The thread is coming out the top of the bead. So we're kind of setting it like a tire. We refer to our beads as tires. And now we're going to come back down through, we're going to do our circle, come back down through the 8-0 that we're attaching it to. Everything is connected to each other. So even though it's sitting out here in the wind, I'm going to come back up and we're going to, whoops, we don't want that. I got it twisted on my, we want to back up, sitting with the hole up, and we're going to go back through the second row of 11-0 beads. Okay, so now this row was connected to the first row. The second 8-0 was connected to the first 8-0, and now it's being connected to the row of 11-Os. Okay, there you go. You can see where it's starting to straighten out. So now what do we have here? We have a vacant spot. We have to add an 8-0. And just like the directions say, you come back up the 8-0 that it's next to, the neighbor. Okay, because we got to add our second 8-0. And we're going to come back down. Okay. Okay, sitting there nice. See that? But guess what? We got the top done for the second row, but we don't have the other side. So now we turn to the other side and we're kind of holding on to the 11-0 here. And we're going to add our second row of 11-Os for the other side. So we add 3 beads and we're going to go up through the first row. We're connecting it. And we're going to come back through. Okay. And now we're going to come down. So now this is connected to this. This is connected to the back one. And now we're coming down the second 8-0. And guess what? We're coming out the bottom. So we have to turn. All right. So we've got bottom done, top done. So here we are, 2 full rows completed. And when everything's completed, it looks like our directions ask us, and I'm going to turn this around. Right here. We're coming out the bottom, and I turned it. So we're going to add another 8 beads. So we're taking you through the steps of each bead that we add. All right, so now we're coming up. Turned it. I'm going to add an 8-0. And I'm going to come back up through the bead. Did I get that on there? I don't see my 8-0. All right, let's add that. We're going to come up, back up. Okay, turn it so it's what we call tire side up. And we still go back down. And since our thread is coming out the top of that bead, here we're turning it back. Just kind of back and forth. So if your thread is coming out the top, that's when you turn it, because we're now ready. We're in position to add our 3 more on our 3rd row, the 11 beads. Okay, so we'll be connecting it to this automatically. We're going to pass the thread back through. And we have a thread mess. Let's get that out of there. Let's pull this. All right. Slide that down a little bit. That's one thing, these things slide. All right, so they're kind of funny right here, right? See that? Okay, so in order to connect it, we added the 3, we came down the 2nd row, and now we're going to go back up the 3rd row. And we're exiting where we need to add the 3rd row 8-0 right there. So again, add the 8-0. Okay, get it set. It's coming out the bottom, so we're going to go through the next 8-0 next to it. Go back down through. So we've connected it. Okay. We're going to turn because our thread is coming out the top. And our very last step here is to add our 3rd row of 11-0s. So 1, 2, 3. And I think you got the gist of it now. Go back through. We've already connected it to here because the thread's coming from here. We're going to continue back again. So this goes around and then it comes back through the 3 that we just added. And see this? It's not connected to this one yet. So now we go back down through the 8-0. See that? How nice that just went? And here we are. We turn it because the thread is coming out the top of this 8-0. Everything's finished front and back. So we add the 4th 8-0. Here we go. We're going to come back from the bottom of that bead to the top. Keep our thread from, I always slide down, I guess. Okay. It's coming out the 3rd, but we want it to go back through the 4th again. So we're coming down. And so we turn it so it's coming up. See that? It's right there now. So we turned it. And when it's coming up out of the black bead, we are ready to add our 3. Now also look here, I'm going to bring it to your attention. The beads do not line up equally. The 8-0s are bigger than the 11-0s. So you just kind of keep sliding it down and, they come into place by wiggling those seeds down a little bit. The 8-0s I'm referring to. Okay, now we're ready to add our 1, 2, 3, 4th row. And we only do 5 rows of each component. So add our 3. Okay, I can show you how if we slide that down, so you can kind of get a visual here with all the thread twisting. Add the 3. Here we go. got them here. Now we've got, it's connected to the side, the black. Now we're going to connect it to the third row. So fourth row is connected to, get them lined up there, the third row. And then we're going to come back through the fourth row and exit. Hold your beads together. That might help keep them. And we do a good tug. I do a good tug. And so now we're sitting there. We don't have a black connector bead down here because we have 1, 2, 3. We need 4. So we go right ahead, get our black bead, and then we come back up because we're connecting it to the third row neighbor. Okay, get it lined up. All right. And then we're going to come back down through the fourth row, or fourth 8-0 bead. All right. Everything's connected. This is connected to this. This is connected to that row. Came back. We added our fourth bead. Now these two are connected. And we turn it because the thread is now coming out of our 8-0 from the top. And we're ready to add our fourth row in the back. Or on the other side, let's just say. Who knows, front or back. All right. Now I got it caught in here. Let's get that out of the way. Thread and I are something else. I tell you, you should see me sometimes. I get it in my hair, I get it in my glasses. Obviously I talk with my hands. So, you know, if I talk with my hands, I got my hands going all over the place. Okay. So if we're coming out of the top of the bead, we want to be doing this side of the leather. Okay, there you go. And like before, we pass through the last or the previous row, which would be 3. Okay. Come back down through the fourth row. Okay. And I'm going to tug because we want them pretty straight. And this row now is completed. This row is already on, but we're not connected. So we come back down through the already placed fourth 8-0 bead. And now we're coming out the top of it and we turn our work. So we're now doing, we've got 4 rows. We're going to add our 5th. So we need to add the 5th 8-0 bead. Take a bead. Again, you're coming out the top. So the needle's going to go through that bead on the bottom and back up. Get it set so the holes are all in the same direction. Can we see that? There we go. And now we're ready to go back through again because we want the thread exiting the last bead we put on. And I turned it because my last bead, the thread is coming out the top, and that's the side we want to work on. So we're now going to add 3 11-0s. And we're going to go back through the fourth row that we just added or added prior. All right. We're not leaving it. We're going to go back through the 5th row. See that? Pull. And now we're ready to add. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beads on this side. We need 5 on the other. We're coming out of our 5th row. Here's where we add our 5th bead. Okay, we pick it up. I go from underneath the side bead because we're going to do a connection. And connection means that it's a circular motion. If the thread is coming out the top, you're going to put your needle in the bottom. Okay, now my thread is coming out the top of the 4th bead, but I need to be coming out the 5th bead. So I bring the thread back through. This side is finished and I turn it. And again, I turn it because the thread is coming out the top of the 5th bead. And that means this side gets the attention. So now we're going to add the 5th row, which is our very last row, to our component. Here we go. pull, and we come back through the 5th row. This will even it out, make it a little straighter. Okay, and we are now going to go down. It's not connected to everything yet. So now we've got this connected to this connected to this, and now we have to connect this to the 5th row, and we go right through the bead that's already there. It's the fifth 8-0 bead. And what I do is you can tie a knot here and connect it. Just like I started here going through twice, I'm going to go through the last row twice. So I go all the way around, and it gives it a little tightness, keeps kind of everything in line and looking spiffy. Here we go. We are done with this component. And that's what we do for all of our components. All we do is change the 11-0s. Now, I just hook underneath. I'm going to do a half hitch. I get a little circle. Whoops, I went a little too far. See if I can get in there. Oh, I got so excited that I was done. There we go. Here's a little circle, stick my needle through it and pull. That's 1 half hitch knot. And I'm going to go to the other side like a couple. And I'm going to tuck under. See that? Do another half hitch. There we go. I'm going to clip just to leave a little edge so you can burn it down. The burning makes it into a little bit of a knot. And we clip it a little closer. Take my thread burner, just burn that down a little bit. And we are done. So even though I used the full 9 inches, you can look at how these slide. Here, let me get them. These slide so nicely. You can have them all lined up at the top of your wrist. There we go. Or you can spread them out however you want. You guys are creative. You can put things in between, some jump rings, but this is the kit. You get your tiara cast Tree of Life charm. This happens to be a copper one. The 9-inch leather. You'll get 1, 2, 3 heavy gauge jump rings. You'll get, actually, I put 3 foldovers because when I first started doing this, I did not do a good job. So I inevitably had to toss a foldover away. So you get in a little extra one. And you're going to measure your leather first, put all your findings on. So when you do your last component, you can put it on your wrist. It's a little blurry, so let's see. There we go. This is foggy. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna now get back to turning this off. And this is, I think this kit is, let me see. I'm gonna reach for it's a $16.95 kit. So we now have 4 combinations. All right, have a good day, everybody. Let's close our meeting.